Yeah, so how did I get the idea for couchsurfing? I've been asked that a few times, and over the years, and it's an idea that kind of came to me early on in my adulthood, or a young adulthood, you could say, and I was traveling. I was traveling on my own, and being a very shy person, I wanted to meet people, but I'm not the kind of person that would go up to someone in the bar and say, "Hey, how's it going? Would you hang out with me?" And I remember traveling in Amsterdam and other places in Europe, thinking there are these cool people right here. If only I could say hello somehow. And being a computer programmer, I thought there must be a solution, and maybe with some computer code, maybe other people would like to meet me online. And so I decided to do some tests to see would other people like to meet me on the internet. And it turns out that they would. What has been the success of couchsurfing over the years? Well, it depends on how you measure it, right? I would say extremely successful based on the goals that we started off with. The goals that we started off with were to make the world smaller, to make it easier for people to meet and go on the adventures of their lifetimes, to get outside of their comfort zone, to be able to travel less expensively, to travel longer, to have more experience with the world. So based on those metrics, I mean, we have hundreds of millions of data points on cultural exchange, couchsurfing being one of the largest trust experiments of all time now. It's far exceeded my expectations and hopes and dreams, and I'm very thankful. So people ask me, what am I working on these days? And I'm working on two other projects called Mastly and Wonder. Couchsurfing was all about sharing your life, your outer world. Now, Mastly and Wonder are also about sharing. So Mastly is about sharing your projects. It's about if you have a company or a project that you would like to share the equity of, the ownership of, you can more easily do that. You can do that in 60 countries using Mastly. It allows you to very easily say, I would like to share this piece of the project, and it creates a transparency, and it allows people to want to work on a project in a really powerful way. They really work very hard because they can believe in it. And in couchsurfing, that was a huge challenge. It started as a nonprofit. We had to convert to a for-profit, and it was constantly trying to share that inspiration and share that, hey, we're doing this together, and it's a reasonable way and an inspiring way of doing this together. So Mastly and Wonder they're startups. They are startups and you could say in a sense of Silicon Valley startup, or worldwide startup. I mean, there's a big startup phenomenon happening all over the world these days, and it's like that. I mean, we're trying to make something valuable for the world. We hope that it does so even in a social way, sure. But at the end of the day, it needs to create real value, and that's what startups are trying to do in the world. As we were discussing, a lot of startups, they can start for free. They need to start for free, and then they try to search for a revenue model. So I think that's just the way it is, or kind of has to be. You want to start kind of in the most broad sense you can. See if you can provide value to a small group of people. See if that value can be scaled a bit. That a larger group of people would find that value. But really, you're kind of exploring. You're an explorer. You're trying to explore what people need, and but then you also want to continue to provide that value. And it just kind of seems like a foregone conclusion often that you can't provide that value unlimited for free, because you wouldn't be able to keep the servers on or keep people working on the project. So you've got to find a symbiotic relationship between the people working on the project the project itself maybe, and then also the people that are contributing to the project or experiencing the project or using the project or product. It has to all work. If it isn't a symbiotic relationship, it's not going to work. People have asked me that. Did couchsurfing even need a revenue model, or even from day one, could it have been done for free? And the answer is no. From day one, I put in a revenue model, a sustainability model. I put in verification. We had about 10% of people getting verified, and for about $25 a piece. So that brought in barely enough revenue. It's not a very powerful revenue model. It's a medium quality revenue model, you might say. It was enough to keep the company going and trying to keep searching to try to find sustainability, or at least enough scalability that the company could continue to exist. But it's been a struggle. I mean, it's always been a huge struggle to try to make the company work at that scale. a startup is really a cooperative. Or I'll back up. So what advice might I give to early startup folks or young startup folks? I think one of the most important things that kind of jumps into my mind. I mean, there's so much advice that one could give. There's a lot of advice, but one of the things that I think maybe a unique piece of advice that I would say is that to think of it like a startup is like a cooperative experiment. The goal, a startup is not registering with your Secretary of State or registering, your legal docs per se. It's not even getting a bank account per se, although those things are very helpful. What it really is it's a cooperative experiment. You're trying to inspire people and get people to want to work together, as many people as makes sense, as many people as possible, toward a goal, to get a goal worked on, to achieve a goal. And that's difficult. You can do that with inspiring leadership to some degree, but even that's really hard. It's just, inspiring leadership is hard to come by. A lot of us are kind of nerdy, introverted computer programmers, and that might be that might be hard for us to do that. So to cooperate, how do you get people to cooperate? One of the projects I'm working on that is because of this problem that I've seen so much is, allowing people to share the equity or the ownership of a project in a really transparent way. And back in the day, we were doing couchsurfing. There was no good way to do this. And it was, we tried it as a nonprofit, we tried it as a for-profit, and both models were just leaving something to be desired. It was just such room for improvement. And so I guess I would say that you want to start thinking about, how am I cooperating? How am I going to get as many people together as possible to work on this project? I mean, there's a classic definition of innovation. It's like, how do you create something new, and then hopefully it's useful. Probably people associate innovation with it probably as new and useful. But I think that how do you create innovation is, a lot of it has to do with trust. You need to accelerate innovation and to accelerate your ability to find an innovation. You need to create a lot of trust amongst people. So I think trust and innovation gotta go really hand in hand. And when I think of innovation, I think of trust just immediately.